Okay, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you so much for joining me tonight on the late one, where we look at some of the top news of the week with my good guests, my good mates, Dr. Burton and Sir Gary Graham. But first of all, I want to thank you so much for joining. And remember, we are going live on YouTube and live on Facebook as well. And you can see me on Instagram. But while you're seeing me on Instagram, you cannot see the persons live on the show because we haven't reached that point yet. But eventually that is going to happen. Shay, Shelrock, Ultra Education, thank you for joining me on Instagram. You can hear everything live. Please contribute to the show as well. And remember to like and subscribe to the Sylbourne Show on YouTube, Sylbourne TV, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and the works. Well, before we go any further, I tell you what, it's been a great week so far. It's Thursday. Thursday is always a time where everybody say, wow, thank God for Thursday because it's just the eve before Friday. Thank God for Thursday, eve before Friday. And everybody getting ready to shell down. That is something they say in Jamaica. And for some, ready to party because things are opening up back. There's some powerful news that the UK is saying as well about COVID and getting things back to some level of normality. But before we go any further, let me just bring in my co-host, Dr. Burton, and also Dr. and Garry Graham. So first of all, let me just bring in David. How are you doing, buddy, sir?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Sylbourne. How you doing? I'm good.
Good. I'm good, man. I'm good. How's your week so far?
Yeah,
Busy in the
busy.
doc.
NHS is open for business. We're here. We're working hard, serving the patients that we sworn to protect. So yeah, we're good.
Yeah. I've got some cases which I'm working on, and I've been trying to get all of the legal services from two different trusts, and that's hard work.
Yeah. I can only imagine. Workloads been piling up in the background, but
Yeah.
now we're coming to a head. So it's. I think it's good to be motivated and busy and trying to get back to a sense of normality.
Mm. It's interesting you mentioned about motivation and being busy. Um, in this time now, you remember when we started some time back, we were talking about motivation. How are you with the whole aspect of where we started before about to inspire ourselves, motivate ourselves, the things that kept us going? I mean, how are you being with that? I mean,
Yeah,
through the
that's a good
lockdown period.
question to be asked,
Mm,
really. As I said, getting back to a sense of normality of what you were used to before the pandemic, I think is key and essential to sort of having that positive mental attitude or aptitude as well. So, how am I? Well, I have last weekend, I did my first run for a long while for
yeah.
Age UK, and so that was a 10K run in Leeds. That was good fun. I really enjoyed it. And it felt good just being out and about and running as well. I might send you the video after during the show. But
Yes.
my crossing of the finishing line wasn't Bolt-esque. It was more celebratory to the fact that back in doing runs again and being out and about with people who are generally
Yes.
wanting to raise money for different research, different
Mm,
organisations. And I think that's a degree of positivity. People are happy to get back out and about. A lot of races were postponed, obviously for good reason,
yes.
in the previous year. But now we're back running again, and I think it's fantastic. My wife just did a marathon as well, so that's a good to get her in her headspace as well. So she's
Mm,
happy, and we're trying to get those medals back on the wall that we collected before COVID. Because again, it's about sense of achievement. It's about enjoying what you do and doing things
yes.
that you. I mean, not everybody's a keen runner, but there are certain
Yeah.
things that people would have embarked on in years gone by that they can't do now or couldn't do now, but are trying to strive to get to do now. So, and implore people to try and get their head in the right spot, because we're getting through this now.
Mm. Well, it's interesting you mentioned about getting back into the running. As for me, I walk. You know, I
Yes, yes,
I just keep it walking and develop now tweaking it to skipping
yeah.
and with the push up and the press up. And one of the things that I'm doing now, and people might see what I'm trying to do. I think maybe I shouldn't do it on camera, but I like people to see what's happening on the job, where you're skipping and you do this little thing and you're spinning it around, and I'm trying to do all these little things.
And that will in turn, I'm sure, inspire other people to want to get out, get off the couch, get
Yes.
moving. Without claiming anybody's thunder, Jamaica moves, that sort of thing. People need to get up, motivate, get moving,
Yes.
and get the heart rate up. So if you can inspire somebody to make those steps,
Yes.
that leads to skipping, that leads to push-ups and press-ups, or whatever you want to call it. I think
Yeah.
it's only a positive thing.
Yeah, that's good, man. Michelle, thank you so much. Yes, thank you for joining and everything. Well, David, listen, we had the Chancellor this week, talking about the what they said is the week of budget, you know, the
Yeah.
budget this week, and people are actually saying, you have two different sides of the coin. People are saying it was a terrible budget. Some are saying it was a good budget. But one of the things that the Chancellor said, which was really, I was happy that the Punch and Judy moment when he said, listen, I'm going to say something which is not what everybody like to say. And I'm saying it because I know it is something that we need to say. Government has limits. We can't do everything for everybody,
Well, I mean, that's the true reality. You're not going to be able to help everybody. The government is there to sort of set the trends of a nation, and to make it a livable situation for many. But it can't do it for everybody. And I think if you've got people who are saying the budget is good and the budget is bad, maybe you take that as 50-50 people down the middle. That's probably the fair and square of it. Now, I'm not going to go above and beyond to say that this is an excellent budget. I think that there was elements that would appeal to some people and not to others. There's no doubt that there's a big gulf in regards to the money that is in the coffers because of what's happened recently with coronavirus, but also that of Brexit as well, the negotiations that have occurred. I think we would all say could have been improved, but we are where we are. And so at this moment in time, what we've tried to do, or what the Chancellor's tried to do, is move the project forward and make a plan for the future. And I think that's all we can really ask at this moment in time. The thing that I would like to say is that obviously schools seem to have not been forgotten. I think I like the projects that have been put forward with regards to schooling. In terms of education, there's going to be nearly $2 billion amount of funding to help schools and colleges recover from the pandemic, and I think that's a great thing. So we can't forget. Obviously, kids have suffered a lot with regards to how the pandemic has affected them, and they've not had very much life to live. So you need to make sure we inspire them for the future, make sure that they're protected for the future, and I think that's a good start. There's 300 million obviously that's going to be spent as a start for life parenting programs, with an additional 170 million as well. 22 to 25 promise for childcare. So I think that's again a good motivation to it's a good standard to set, because you're looking at the kids at the end of the day.
Well, one of the things that I was waiting for when Garry comes in. Garry will let me know when he comes in. When I was looking at some of the parts with the economy, because the economy is a crucial one. The key thing was that I think he said something. I'm trying to find a bit where he said bringing it back to pre-COVID level. Show something. Yes, UK economy forecast to return to pre-COVID levels by 2022. Pre-COVID. Remember, the country was growing. I think we're getting nice bounty.
I think it's an ambitious target. I'm not going to say that we will reach that target, but I think it's nice to have that as an ambitious target. And there's a lot of things that we'll have to make sure that they don't fall foul of. I think one of the things is obviously people in the workforce. I don't know if you remember, but the projected target was that 11.9% of people may well be falling into unemployment. That's a terribly high figure. Fortunately, we're nowhere near there, around 5.8%. And so we're nowhere near that horrible target of 1 in 10 people being unemployed. Still 1 in 20. Still want to reduce that down. And we want to get people into work and be motivated to work. And as part of that, you heard Rishi Sunak talk about this leveling up. Sometimes when I hear the word level up, there's a song by Ciara called Level Up, which is really interesting. So you can all Google that.
It's one of my people. Level up, level up, level up, level up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it always comes into my mind when I hear the Conservatives talk about that. But digressing a little bit, but I think it's good to try and get the protection or affordment, of people to get back into the workplace, to feel that they're making society a better and bigger thing. And obviously, if they can put more money on the table, they're able to afford more things as well, and that's good for the economy too. If they want to save that money as well, that's the other good thing about it. So, I think that's it's for me, it's a stabilizing budget.
Yes.
There's obviously the concern about the level of taxation. At this moment in time, the highest it's been on for a long period of time, but we knew with the amount of spending that has been going on to sort of help support people through this difficult period, that this is all, the writing was always on the wall. It's the question here is how long we will be in this particular predicament for, and I think that's the key questions that will be asked.
What about the bit like the universal credit cut by 8% later than 1st December?
Well, that's the whole talk about whether that kind of is going to help people to want to get back into a workplace, to do more work going forward, and as a tax, as kind of looking as a tax incentive for people to get back into workplaces. In terms of universal credit, I think what you're talking about there is the taking away of the credits for people, and how that will affect them. And I've said this on record. I think the timing for those kind of reductions is not optimal. It's not going to be helpful for a degree of the population, and so it will leave a sour taste in the mouths of many in regards to how that project has moved forward. But I do hope that some kind of means tested support is there and available for people, because going forward, there was an article today that talked about how much we're going to have to pay extra for fuel bills, for example, how much our fuel bills will be going up for projected over the next several years. And so there's got to be help afforded to people that can't afford that. Nobody willingly wants to pay more for electric, gas, water, etc. But the reality is that those things will most likely go up for whatever reason. We could speculate on them, but we also have to think about how people can afford that. And I'm hopeful that whilst government cannot look after everybody, cannot be the entity that is responsible for everybody, it will offer some form of protection to those people who are most vulnerable. And I think that's all we can really ask for.
So, but one of the things, though, what he said is that national living wage to increase next year by 6.6% to £9.50, and with the drop of universal credit by 8% no later than 1st of December, bringing it down to 63 to 55%. Do you think that they're trying to bring in the national living wage to sort of compensate at the same time they're giving and taking?
Well, then that's a level of, if you're talking about giving and taking, there's a level of equity, equality, but the balancing out there, we still have a rate of inflation. So people will still be negatively affected, unfortunately. What needs to be happening, in my feeling, is that people need to be encouraged to work, for the state of their mental health and well-being, for the state of their financial abilities to proceed and do the things that they want to in life as well. And it's a societal thing as well. I think there's lots of different reasons to be in a workplace, but also I think there's got to be some incentives. There's really got to be some incentives to fire people up to want to get motivated to work. So the rate of inflation going up is going to be sort of less than neutral for people in terms of the financial uplift with regards to the working wage, and you're talking about universal credits there as well.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining. What we're doing is just taking our time and going through some of the key points from the Chancellor's recent autumn budget debate, which came in there. There's another point also, is that the airport passenger duty, flight between airports in UK will be subject to a new lower rate of airport passenger duty from April 2023. So when you think about 2023, I mean, 22, I always wonder about that, what that forecast, because is it that they're forecasting that travel is going to be on the rebound?
Well, I don't know if it's forecasting. I mean, when you say rebound, what do you mean?
Well, when I say rebound, because things have been down with travel, And if you, one of the topics that we're going to touch on briefly later is that all the different countries, all countries to be removed from UK travel red list. So therefore, there's like this surge for travel they're expecting to happen soon.
Well, I think the way I look at
It does
this, I
affect
don't
you
look at it
because
from
I know
that
you
angle.
travel all the while, so you go to Jamaica every
Well,
week.
this is the thing, right? So we look at that target, and if I said to you, how many miles is it to Jamaica? Would you know?
How many miles?
Yes.
Uh,
I'll give you an easier question.
yeah,
Is it more than the 5,500 miles that this particular air passenger duty is related to?
I think it's more than 5,500 to
No, it's less.
to go to
It
Jamaica.
will only affect, Jamaica's around 4,900. Don't I want to be fact checked, so I'll let you Google that. But it's less than the 5,500 miles for this air passenger duty. This is really going to affect long haul travel, to traveling to the Los Angeles of this world, or going all the way to China, or going down south to South Africa. This is long haul travel. Maybe South Africa is not on the list, but it's more than 5,500 miles. So I think the majority of people will be perfectly fine going to Europe, going to Eastern United States, going to the Caribbean, going to Toronto. Those kind of places are completely fine and not part of the government's plans to increase air passenger duty. So that's the way I look at it. And I think that's the key and essential thing here is you look through the data, you look through the details, and in the devil of the details, you see that actually this is 2023, as you said, and it's for ultra long haul based travel, which is in excess of 5,500 miles. So the majority of people going to Jamaica from the UK can rest assured that the tax is not going to be affecting them at all in the slightest, unless obviously
I have to ask this question. I have to ask this question. Why is there always the devil in the detail? Why is this devil in the detail? Ladies and gentlemen, anyone can answer this question. Where did it come from? The devil in the detail. I thought it would be the word in the detail.
I'll tell you why I think it's a devil in the details, because people don't go looking for it. Generally speaking, you don't go looking for the devil. But when you go looking in the detail for this, you say, okay, actually, now forcing myself to look into the detail of what's going on. My feeling is people look at the superficial headline. The headline itself looks pretty bleak.
But they don't want to get in there. They don't want to get into the detail.
They don't want to, Oh my gosh, no, I can't go traveling. It's going to be.
They're going to see something that turns them off, and that is why the Martin Smith and those guys, they get into the nitty gritty and say, oh man, these guys are killjoys, because they're breaking it down with some things there.
So that's how I look at it. I think that in terms of the travel, it's not a particular issue given what has been stated. But who knows what happens going forward? That 5,500 may be brought down to 5,000 miles, and then 4,500, and it affects us all. But for now, it's not a problem. But what I would say is this: there's moves afoot to try. I feel there's moves afoot to try and reduce the amount of free-flowing air traffic that we currently have, for a myriad of reasons, for environmental reasons. To try and restrict that, and maybe to grow home environments with regards to the way we travel up and down the country. Instead, greener travel. If there are ways to evoke that greener travel, maybe we look for airplanes that don't have the same amount of pollutants. And we develop that kind of thing. So I think that's the motivation here, to say, look, can we get to a greener state sooner than we currently are achieving those goals at the moment? Okay.
Before we move on quickly from this one, are you a Prosecco drinker? You benefited from the Prosecco, the cotton rate.
I'm not, but I know a couple of people who are. So we won't be quite happy if Prosecco is being taxed to a higher degree.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're just touching base on some key topics from the Chancellor bit there. Let's just go straight into COVID, David, because one of the things that came in recently, but double vaccinated can still spread virus at home. Before going further, a lot of things are now coming out, or discussions are now being had that persons used to talk about beforehand. Is it that the information is now becoming a bit more mature, where people can handle more information now to a certain extent, because things which weren't talked about before are now being discussed, are being talked about now.
I think, with the level of, at any level of discussion, there's got to be a level of intellect here as well. And when I say intellect, I'm not saying that we talk just openly without any facts or anything, but we do want to get a level of facts before embarking on particular things. So with regards to this relates to a study that was recently run by Imperial College in London. And it looked at people who have both taken the AstraZeneca vaccine and the Pfizer vaccine. I looked at their level of protection at month 1 and month 5 to 6, and it looked at how infectious they were. It also looked at how protected they were, and basically, as you said, there's still a level of protection that's afforded to people who are vaccinated versus those who are unvaccinated, and so for people who are unvaccinated, you're around 40% more likelihood of being able to be susceptible to the disease than you are if you're vaccinated, which is around about 25%. So
Yeah.
you're reducing your chance of infectiousness. However, if you have the condition itself of COVID, you're still equally infectious. The COVID vaccine itself allows you to have a reduction in the time that you have been afforded the particular problem of having the virus on board your system. So it affords a lot of protection in terms of death rates. It affords protection in terms of going into hospital and being not acutely unwell. So there are real good reasons to have the vaccine. But in terms of levels of infectiousness, we know that that's pretty similar amongst groups who have been infected and versus not infected. But I want you to think about it in terms of this as well. We know that we are challenged with viruses day in, day out. Okay, whether that's COVID, whether that's your normal flu strain, or other adenoviruses or other viruses that are out there. And it's imperative that people do eat right, do exercise, not fad dieting, but just eating right, as I say, exercise, just quit smoking, drinking. If you like your glass of Prosecco, then drink responsibly. Guidelines. That's part of this as well. So the more that you can do to stave off the infection, as well as, in COVID terms, having the vaccination, that's going to do you well to try and reduce your chance of ending up with COVID and having a particular bad episode with it.
So I was distracted because something went off there.
Okay.
So that's interesting. Have you been sort of monitoring a bit like Jamaica?
I haven't looked too much into the facts in Jamaica at the moment. There's too many places to be gandering at. But what seems to be, I mean, one of the things when we last spoke about the Caribbean and Jamaica in itself, it was a question about the types of vaccines that have been afforded to Jamaicans. I think AstraZeneca at the time, if I'm not mistaken, was the first and foremost vaccine that was available to Jamaicans. I think that's probably the last thing that was being really talked about. Is there a particular question about the lay of the land in Jamaica at the moment?
Well, without talking about the other aspects of Jamaica, which we'll maybe touch on a bit, but I think of recent days, they have been throwing away a lot of vaccines because people are not coming out as much as possible, and I think 100,000 is about to be maybe thrown away again because to the expiry date. Can you explain something to me? And your wife is even a good one on this one, but if something is about to expire, like a vaccine, and 5 days, 10 days left or so, is it that once it goes in the body before the expiry date, it's effective, or you need like a 10-day? Like we need. I don't know. I
It's a good question. No, so most drugs have to have an expiry date.
Yes.
Okay. And well, not most drugs. All drugs have to have an expiry date.
Yes.
And that's for a very, very good reason, because they all have different temperatures they have to be stored at, or climates they have to be in, or spaces that they have to be utilized in, and in that regard, they have to have an expiry date. Now, whether or not you take this vaccine 1 day later, whether it's going to cause you concern or problems, I can't sit here and say that it would or it wouldn't. But The fact is, it's got to establish this expiry date for very good reason. It's because the manufacturers feel that that's the date that the drug it should be utilized by that date. Now, quite obviously, I think what needs to happen in circumstances where there's 100,000 vaccines you talked about there that could well be be expiring is there's got to be talk and discussions with other countries that may well need resources, and if they need those resources, then you pass them on to those countries willingly as quickly as possible. And it also means that those countries that are accepting those vaccines have the ability to put the vaccines into effect. So you can't just hand it to another country and then have them go to waste as well. The other thing is there's obviously got to be a joint agreement between the countries as well, because what you don't want is that you have vaccines transported from one country to another without the due diligence of assessment of these vaccines to make sure that they're quality checked and quality controlled. Because if they're not quality checked in Jamaica and then they're given to a country and then they're utilized and then there's a problem, then there's big issues too. So that's where you've got to have some agreements between these countries before and future planning that occurs. So I would hope, this is the thing I would say from this particular story, I would hope that if there are going to be vaccines that are put into country X, with the expectation that they're going to vaccinate the 100% of their population, but they can only get to 40%, that by a certain date, that they have already an agreement with another country to say, look, we'll fast track you these vaccines so that you can have 10% of them, 20% of them, 40% of them. So at least you don't get the full number of vaccines that have been wasted. It's regrettable that they've been wasted in Jamaica, if that's the case. I'm taking it from what you said there. But wastage would occur in other countries as well, is what I would say too. Unfortunately,
they're calling the Prime Minister Brovac. Before it was Brogad, but it's called it Brovac now. Everything is talking about it. I think
there's going to be. I was going to say, so there's got to be more discussion in and amongst the communities as to the benefits of why a vaccine would be helpful. Now, you can't, as I've said on this platform before, you can't force people into doing something, but you must be able to lend your ear to the ground and try to give people the confidence that the rationale for using a vaccine is that it reduces the morbidity, so the disease itself does not affect you half as much as it would do had you not had the vaccine itself. And if you can communicate that to people, I think you'll have more of a degree. Now, I'm not saying that the communication has been lacking, but I think that in any circumstance, what I find is when you have a degree of reservation with regards to a treatment course, then the explanation must be ratified. It must be given as to why certain vaccines are helpful.
Somebody just said he's a real Brovac. Check my story. He said he clear about how to. Actually, did you hear what the Prime Minister of Jamaica said how to beat COVID?
Go for it. What did he say?
Oh my days! I wish I had the clip. I mean, he was explaining. He said the best way to beat COVID is if. He said the best way to beat COVID is if COVID infect everybody and everybody dead, and then there's no more place that the vaccine, the virus can mutate. The
virus can go.
Oh dear. He was just, it was like, I mean, I don't know. I have it somewhere, but he was
surely
just
this was a joke amongst friends rather than.
No, it was in Parliament. It was in Parliament.
And the seriousness of the nature of the comment, that's what I'm trying to work out.
Yes, it's. I think there's a level of annoyance that persons are not actually taking up the vaccine, and annoyance that they're going to throw away a bit, and that he's going around the place, and he's saying something to that extent that it was level of annoyance I sense to make a statement like that, because people take a statement like that and take it out of context by itself as if this is the Prime Minister of Jamaica. So,
well, this is the thing, Sylbourne. I think you've got to know who you're speaking to, and you've got to know the population. I'm not saying he doesn't know the population, but the words do matter, and things can be taken out of context. And if he has said what you say he said, then I can't see that being a positive sense acceptable by the population of Jamaica. So, as I said to you, I think my way of playing. Not so much playing this, but sort of giving the masses the information on the ground and that requires people from the shop floor of the hospitals, to the managers as well, just saying, look, this is why we think it's helpful. People in pastoral care, people just being able to talk about it and say, look, these are the reasons as to why we feel it's acceptable to take the vaccine. And if you look at other parts of the country, parts of the world, they're moving with regards to the vaccine too. So
David,
that's where we go.
Okay, just pause for a second.
Finally, he said it.
The pandemic will end. I can't give you a date. I don't have an answer for that. But what I can tell you is how the pandemic can end. The pandemic can end when the virus kills off enough people in the population such that it cannot reproduce and be a threat. That is a cold, hard.
Finally, he said it.
Pandemic will end.
Let me get rid of that. I guess you understand the context.
So let's give it a context now. And so the context, definitely for me, it probably wasn't the right thing to say, but I understand why he said it.
Yes.
It's as simple as that.
Yes. And the thing about it is that we are around impressionable minds, or lots of people at the same time, that will just grab things and say, that's it, I'll take this thing, And I strongly believe, just like what you said, it is not to be forced and not to be mandated, but according to how people are being affected now, like in the States, it comes around in different ways, affect their jobs. I was listening to someone to say that they can't believe that during the course of the pandemic, firefighters, nurses, doctors, those on the front line, they are now being penalized because they make a choice not to take something at this point because they're not comfortable. So therefore, it's not mandated, but it's coming around in a different way, whereby it's affecting their economical and their financial position. And I think that is the bit which is very concerning, and it's very disheartening, at the same time. But here we go. But in the UK, I must say though, David, people are asking about the UK. The UK is not very adamant. I don't see the sense of it's pushing it in the sense with the mandate and the passports that much. It is giving people that opportunity to make up their mind. Is that what you sense for the UK?
I think at this moment in time, I think you're correct. I think things may well change. There's definitely two schools of thought in regards to the way that you could look at how things are panning out. So from the government's point of view, it seems as though they're leading in the let's let people make their own choice. From Labour's point of view, they're sort of pushing from we need to get to Plan B. My doctors' union recently put out a statement to say, look, we need to go down the Plan B route as well, because of the rising number of cases. What I would say is that looking at the data, in terms of people who have been tested positive, that's slowly on the decline, which is a very good indicator that things are going in the right direction. The numbers of deaths within 28 days, unfortunately, are at their peak compared to around September time which isn't too long ago actually, of last year, I want to say now. And in terms of numbers of persons who have been admitted to hospital, we're going around in that particular region as well. But I think the good thing is, again, the number of people testing positive is on the decline. So we know that sometimes that takes a little while to transpire into the number of deaths and the number of people admitted to hospitals. So we're approaching the winter months again. We know that there's obviously other illnesses on top of COVID.
Yes.
There's a flu season as well. The uptake of flu vaccines has been good so far. And so we'll just have to watch this space and see what happens and what transpires. There's no doubt in my mind that if the numbers pick up to, the second, it's a long while ago now, but the second wave, then we'll be going down the Plan B route.
So we just there's a Plan B, and there's a plan C. I think people are pushing to the Prime Minister is a bit very careless in actually seeing things going up and going for nothing. Now the plan B. So plan C is what? Is that the full lockdown? Is that what plan C is?
Well, I don't know what plan C is. I don't know what plan C is. Plan B is at least getting back to a form of mandated face masks, social distancing being enforced again, or those sort of things. But those are not in effect at this moment in time. And it depends on where you are in the country. Some people will be wearing the face mask quite religiously, and other places they won't. I think what's good is that we're in a different spot now than we were a year ago, which is a majority of the population have been vaccinated. 12% of people have had their booster jab, and that's going to be rolled out further during the winter as well. So we're on a better spot now than we were a year ago, 18 months ago, 2 years ago now. So
I know a problem with the mask. I mean, that was in a supermarket. I won't mention the supermarket name, but one of the guys who were at the cashier, not the self checkout, man, he was in some serious coughing, man. And I thought about it for a second, and I said, should I say something to somebody? And I saw a couple of people's faces, and a couple of people just put on their masks, but he was actually going around. But people normally cough, isn't it? Coughing was a normal thing.
No, exactly. But it's the immediate draw now of the mindset to say, oh, what's going on here? And that's not going to change for a long while. Sorry, go ahead. Finish your point. So I'm going to say yes. Yeah, there's the message that popped up. So we can't cough. Of course, we can cough. Coughing is a natural response to an irritant, and I would implore people to cough. But obviously, before COVID, there was a way of coughing. There's covering your mouth while you cough and covering away from or coughing in other people's direction. So quite obviously, there's an etiquette to coughing, but holding it in is not the way forward. Letting it out is the best way.
But okay, let's talk about this one now, because what we are seeing is that the government now is opening up. What's the topic there? What it says there? It says that, ladies and gentlemen, all countries to be removed from UK's travel red list. So that means to say, while you just allude to a while ago, not allude to it because it's a reality of the increase, but they're opening up, taking countries off the red list, while some countries are putting the UK on the red list, isn't it? On their red list.
Yeah, well, that's so we've looked at the data. I say we, not myself, but the government have looked at the data and said, actually, in terms of the variants that are out there that can affect us here, that's not too much of a problem for us. So opening those borders is deemed to be not a particular problem. It'd be very interesting to see what SAGE feel on this particular matter, because quite obviously, if we have more circulating virus of different strains mixing with the strains that we currently have here, that opening us up to any particular worry or concern going down the line. And obviously, at this moment in time, it would seem that it's not a particular problem. But again, the difference here is that we are vaccinated.
This is great news, actually. This is great news, actually.
Sorry, David. I was trying to stop something here. Did you hear something a while ago?
So I heard Grant Schnaps is trying to overpower my Bluetooth stuff, which is perfectly fine. I'm not a government minister. It's fine. He's the Minister for Transport. Also Transport Secretary, not Minister of Transport.
Yeah. Let's hear what Grant is actually saying. If I can actually find the link. There it is.
Well, this is great news actually for travellers. People will be able to travel here from anywhere without now having to go through a mandatory quarantine, as the red list reduces to zero.
I'm Taylor, and this is Rumpus.
We've been able to do this now because the variants of concern that we've been tracking are no longer of concern to the Chief Medical Officer.
I think from that, Sylbourne, the thing that I would take away from that is that as
Let,
well
let me
as, you know,
let me just get rid let me get rid of him.
Keep several hundred hotel rooms available should we need them, and
Yeah.
we'll review it again in the new year.
I don't want him to
But so we don't have
overpower.
to have
He's
to
still overpowering us, David.
he's still
There he is.
talking. You
Yeah,
can't stop
talking.
once he gets talking. You can't stop.
Yeah,
But what I
go on
was
there.
going to say is, what the interesting thing is that other parts of the world will be changing the way that they look at things. So Russia, in terms of Moscow, that's shut down it's temporarily. It's on a partial lockdown at the moment. Every country is going through the assessment of where they are, what's the likelihood that it's going to affect them to a greater degree, and what they can do as their plan B, C, D, E to Z and beyond. So it's always a changing focus. You book a holiday tomorrow, it may be cancelled the day after, and we just have to be mindful of that.
Yeah, I just got to go back to what Michelle said. So what? We can't cough anymore.
No, definitely, Michelle. You can cough.
Yeah, but
just cough right.
But she went further. I was just at the doctor's office and someone was coughing, and the admin was like, "Who is coughing like that?" I had to ask her, "Didn't people used to cough and sneeze before all of this? What are we supposed to do now? Suppress our cough and sneeze?"
Not at all. I don't think so. As I said, it's about etiquette. That's all, and the ways of doing that. I mean, I remember just at the very start of the pandemic, and face masks weren't mandatory, but people were wearing them when I was on a train just coming out of London, at a table of 4, and the guy in front of me was just coughing, but wasn't covering his mouth. I said, "Do you mind just covering your mouth if that's okay?" Just asking the question. He said, "Yeah, sure. Sorry," and started covering his mouth. So you can ask that question. It's just, it's one of the worries of people that, that coughing can cause problems. Well, it may well not cause a problem if you just decide to not cover your mouth. That's all you need to do. But you have to cover it with your hand, you can cover it with your elbow, the put of your arm there. So this is a way of coughing, that's all.
Well, anyway, let's move on. Let's move on from this now and touch into the United States of America, because we have a president. How should I say we? We don't have a president. We don't have a president.
We don't have a president.
As a matter of fact, hold on. Before I even go there, Barbados now has a president.
They have changed.
Barbados have a president. You were there. You're the one who started that motion, wasn't it?
I said nothing. It wasn't down to me, but it was very interesting.
Yes.
The way that the transition of
that's very quick, isn't it?
Well, yes and no. I say no because this has been in transition for at least a year now, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's just that it's just not polluted our airways. I say polluted in the finest of sense. What I mean is we've had selective deafness to everybody else's journey, apart from our own in the UK shows. But most definitely. But Barbados have elected their own president, and I think it's great for the people of Barbados. That's what they wanted. That's what they've got, that's what they want to do. And it's interesting because I wonder what happens for the rest of the Caribbean, whether they look at this as a way forward for them, or whether they stick with what they have.
Yeah. But anyhow, Joe Biden, they said that his approval is worse than every recent president except one.
Except the one. There's only one. There's only one.
There's always one.
There's only one. I think there's lots of things that you can look at in regards to why he is where he is in terms of his approval.
I mean, we didn't say nothing to Rishi. Why are we having connection problem or something like that?
Listen, maybe we didn't mention Rishi enough. Maybe he's just a bit disappointed. I'll just digress 1 second. I was listening a soundbite to an earlier communication he was having on an unnamed radio station. We won't name the radio station. But the difficult questions were coming towards the end of the interview, and the radio crackled off, and we lost him. So he wasn't able to answer the difficult questions. And the question was basically surrounding the $37 billion that's been spent on the test and trace program. And whilst he's not part of the program, the question was asked because he's a minister of government, and he went through all the chancellor kind of questions. But when the question came up, he lost the line and he wasn't able to answer.
Yes.
So it's just entertaining. But anyway, I digress. What I was going to say about Joe Biden is the timing for him hasn't been great. He's in the midst of a pandemic. He arguably, and we could talk about this if you want, but arguably the Afghanistan situation did not stand him in good stead. And there's been a lot of to and fro with regards to how he is handling his presidency with in a kind of bipartisan nature with the Republicans. So there's lots on his plate at the moment in time.
Yes.
And I think that's probably why his approval rating is where it is. You've got to look at it from that point of view. If you look at the highest in the past, I think several presidents, the highest approval ratings for?
With that, Barack Obama?
Nope. George W. Bush.
George W. Bush, right after September 11th.
Correct, exactly. So the situation dictates where you are in regards to your approval ratings. But I think for him right now, Afghanistan definitely. I think Afghanistan was the icing on the cake. The way that transpired was not great for America. It was not great for the world, and not great for anybody. So I think that's the biggest thing for him. How he's been able to get out of that bunker and way forward in regards to how America is viewed across the world too. So we'll see. I mean, it's early days at the moment. 9 months in.
Well, there's a 9 months in his presidency, verge of writing his name in the history books. But his name is in the history books already, isn't it? I mean,
it is. It's there, it's right.
Or writing some other spot in the history books. Yes, I was. What Michelle said? Yes, I was with the Dems, but I'm with the Republican now. A lot of Dems are going over to the Republican. Do you think that the midterm elections, and Michelle, I don't know if you can come in or not, but the midterm elections coming up very soon, and they believe that the Republicans are going to sweep sailing because a lot of Democrats are really annoyed by Biden. They don't know what's going on.
Well,
even Kamala, we don't know where's Kamala. We haven't seen Kamala.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know.
She smoked weed every day. You know what I'm saying? She said she should smoke weed until her father shut her down. I say, don't say that. Smoke weed every day.
In this, I don't want to get shut down, so I will talk on the matter of.
Jabbish. Jabbish is here. I got Jabbish who is here. When I have talking sip on a Saturday night, Jabbish don't come in with a drink. Jabbish come in with a big something in his mouth, and I won't say what it is. And I'm saying.
So with. You've thrown my thought now.
Jabbish coming with something, but hey, we gotta go.
Hey guys.
We're gonna go straight over into the States, man. She's in the States. She have authority in the subject matter. Michelle, she's here, David.
Let's hear.
Hello, guys. Greetings.
Greetings and salutations.
Okay.
So what's Michelle's thoughts on things stateside?
I don't really think that it's really about Afghanistan at this point with Biden. It's more about the mandate. The shot mandate. That's what it is about here in the U.S.
Yes.
Everybody's turning from him right now. I have my niece. She works for the government. She works for Medicare.
Yes.
And she works from home. And day before yesterday, a memo was pushed out to her that she had to be fully vaccinated. It came out on the 26th. She had to be fully vaccinated by the 27th. Well, Florida here is we call it a work to
rule with Ron DeSantis.
Yeah. Well, right now I'm with Ron DeSantis because he's with the people right now.
Yes.
And what we find right now is that you have a lot of negative media that's going out and they're trying to say like Florida is the carrier and Florida is this because he is not with forcing people to get the shot.
Yes.
He wants you to have your choice. It's your body and it's your choice. And if you feel like you don't want to take the shot, you shouldn't have to be forced to take the shot. So what he's doing is that he's taking them to court. any business that forces their employees to take the shot, he's taken all of them to court and starting to fine them, I think like $10,000 each, employees that they forced to take the shot.
So
Interesting.
therefore,
And
he's not an anti-vax. He,
No, he took the shot, but he doesn't believe in forcing
right,
his citizens to take it.
right.
So it's up to
and
you, and it should be that way. So my niece is like, "Oh my God, Auntie, I'm gonna be homeless,"
Mm,
because she doesn't want to take the shot. But here you are, that her job, just send the memo out and give them 3, like they're saying, if you're gonna take the Moderna, you have to take it by the 27th, which was
mm,
yesterday. And
mm,
if you're going to take the Pfizer, you have to take it by the 4th of November. And if you plan on taking the Johnson and Johnson, it has to be taken by the 22nd of November. Now you're giving your employees no time to even think about, what they're really going to do, what your plan really is,
mm,
or anything like that. So it's like, you as the government, you don't care about your citizens. You don't care if they eat, if they could feed their kids. You don't care if they, go homeless or anything like that, because the jobs are saying, if you're not taking a shot, here is the website for you to resign.
mm,
So I had to tell her I wouldn't resign. I would let them fire me, because probably down the line you can go back and sue, because then they'll be like, well, she resigned. No, don't resign. Let them let you go. You know what
mm,
I'm saying? If you plan on not taking a shot. So I told her, listen, let them send back the memo and tell them that you're going to take the Johnson and Johnson to give you some time. Start sending out your resumes, because here it is that she works from home. She's not around anybody. So why are you
mm.
forcing these people that's working from home to take the shot? That is wrong.
David, what's your take on that?
yeah, so I'm just reading through this. I mean, it looks like there potentially could be some wiggle room, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Michelle, because obviously you're living in the country, you're
Mm,
living and breathing the air. But looking at some of the articles, it looks like there's going to be some wiggle room for some of the federal employees that this is being put out to, and I completely can see where people would have reservations with regards to a mandate. A mandate is a mandate at the end of the day. If you can't work around it, then there's a problem,
mm,
because you don't get
Yeah.
to voice your concerns, voice your feelings on the matter,
Oh yeah.
unless you
Well,
walk
I
off the
told her
job,
to
like you
call
said.
Tallahassee and be one of those citizens that push your complaints into Tallahassee. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Because it's wrong. My brother lives in New Jersey, and he works for AT&T, and he's not even around anyone in his office, and he worked for AT&T over 30 years now.
yeah,
And they send out the memo too. Uh, they don't have to be fully vaccinated until January the 22nd of January, which is next year.
yes,
But he didn't want to take it, but he went out there, and Saturday was his first shot of the Johnson and Johnson, which I was trying to discourage him from taking the Johnson and Johnson, because I feel like they can't even get powder right. How are they going to get the vaccine right? So,
I know.
so
I noticed I noticed in Jamaica there's this thing about which is the best one. I got my Pfizer. I got my AstraZeneca. I got my Johnson and
mm-hmm.
Johnson. you know, but in interesting days, Michelle, and the thing I sensed as well, and somebody said it earlier, that it is high time now that governments start to really work with their people and listen to their
That's
people.
what they're there for. They work
Yes,
for us.
yes,
They're there to work for us. And this is the thing that a lot of citizens, it's like you don't know your constitutional right and you don't
mm,
stick together. So they push all this fear out there in the corporate media, fear in corporate media, and you have everybody that's running, people that don't want to take it, but just
yeah,
by fear alone, they run out and they're taking it.
mm,
You know,
mm,
if you know your constitutional right, and if the people stick together, that wouldn't happen, because that is not the job of the federal government. That
Yeah.
is not the job of the federal government to mandate anything like that. That's not their
Mm.
job.
Yes, yes, yes. Well,
It's
listen,
not.
guys. Well. Listen. We work on that one, but before we go, because we have a limited amount of time, but um, there's this gentleman in Jamaica who died of recent days, Kevin Smith, and I heard that he's being charged.
What do you mean by he's being charged? He's
Yeah,
dead.
posthumously. What is that? Posthumously. They
Yeah,
said
that's
he was.
correct. Well done. Yeah.
Yeah, they said he was charged. And his lawyer is actually saying, "Hang on a second, where is the body? We need to see the body, man. They can't seem to find the body, guys."
Oh, I think today I just seen they had a website out that they said they showed the body at the morgue.
Okay, okay.
That the body was, they released the picture of the body in the morgue or something like that.
I don't know, David. I don't know if we have not, because I chose not to go with the crowd and talking about this, But have you thought about this or thought about it in a what happened
In
there?
what sense?
I don't know. I
So
don't know. It's totally have the media and everyone talking about this. That people are saying, "What is this about this guy?"
I don't know.
Michelle, I don't know.
People can be followers of whatever, no? If you're able to talk and people want to listen, you can change people's minds if they're impressionable minds, as you talked about earlier. And that's the gift and the curse that we have. We have free thought, which is a gift, but at the same time, it's a little bit of a curse in that you can be easily led and easily swayed. It's interesting, we talk about having followers. We talk social media, and if you think about how many followers people have, and you look at other groups, and you think, well, actually, what is it that they're saying that encapsulates the minds of people to want to follow them?
But that's just it. That's something to really think about. What is it? I see videos of this man, and if people are late to the church, he's collecting money for them being late to church.
Yeah,
he's like, "Come on up, everybody, come bring up your money. Bring up your money. On no one late for church. We know everybody were late enough."
Well, somebody said, what if they were actually absent? You'd have to give over them a house. Yeah,
it's just crazy. It's just a crazy thing. But
well, anyway, what it says here: yesterday, 2 days after he died in a car crash, Smith was posthumously charged with 2 counts of murder, conspiracy to commit murder, illegal possession of firearms and ammunition, wounding with intent, and shooting with intent. Murder charges are in relation, and you have to ask yourself. And I didn't go and check it up.
You sure that was for him or not for the guy that's
that's what they said. Well, according to what someone said, came out again and said, is that the paper was misleading.
Yeah, I think so, because I know they took the other guy that did that, the lady, and they charged him.
Yeah. David, did I take you out?
That's why they were bringing him to Kingston, because they was bringing him to Kingston to charge him there in Kingston.
So this is only one article, isn't it, that's reflected on this, and it's from the Observer today. It's by Rochelle Clayton of the Observer, so the Jamaican Observer, I should say. So that's where the link has come from in regards to him being charged. But let's see. It's early days. But yeah, the free thought aspect. Before I lost connection there, the free thought aspect does intrigue me. I think it's just part and parcel of human nature. Sometimes people need to lean on something, and once they're in, they feel it very difficult to get out, and then challenge the concepts or the creation of concepts that are being voiced by a particular person that they feel they should follow. I will say this. Gone are the days, I think, where people would come into a hospital practice, see a consultant like myself, and sort of say, "Yes, doctor, yes, I'll agree with everything that you've got to say. I am challenged much more by my patients." I think that's a fantastic thing. I like to be challenged. I want them to ask me the questions that pertain to their medical problem or condition, because it shows that they want to understand their condition and it tests my knowledge to give them the information and convey that to them in a manner that they understand. So I would implore people to challenge people. I would implore people to ask questions, because it aids understanding, and it aids people's ability to trust their practitioner as well. If you look at me and you don't trust me, that's on me to impart the wisdom and knowledge to you, to make that free choice. I think that will come. I think there are particular positions where people still lean on and say, okay, look, this is a minister of God. I'm going to use God in inverted commas here, because obviously in this particular example, this was not the case. But people will lean on that. If you're in a position of power, people will trust you. That's the key here. And in this particular instance, obviously, he was well trusted. And that's the problem here. Whenever that trust is being put to the sword,
and another problem
you get the result
is
of this.
Jamaican people are too gullible. They're very, very gullible. And I think they believe in materialistic things too much. That's how come they get caught up like that. So this guy must be like promising them, you know, all sort of stuff, and they just gullible and go along with it. You probably had some of them that was still using outhouse and was giving their money away to this person.
I hear what you're saying there when you say gullible, but I don't know that that's just something unique to people of Jamaica. I just think people can be easily swayed in the judgment call because of the power that comes with particular positions. I'll give you some other examples. I have, I'm sure this happens across the globe, but you may have heard of people who pick up a call and say, oh, you've won money today. You just need to give your bank account sort code. We'll put the money in your account. And then that money's just swiftly taken out of their account. And these are not people who generally have, it may happen to people who've got dementia and other things, but it can happen to people from all walks of life. The gullible nature to this all is about the accessibility to want to believe in something that should be unbelievable, if that makes sense. So I don't know that it's unique to Jamaica. I take the point. It's about being gullible, but I don't think it's unique to Jamaica. I think that some people just, unfortunately, will gravitate to a belief of a particular concept, and when they believe in it, they go with it, and then that clouds their judgment. It clouds their judgment so much so that they can't pull back from that misreality, and that's the problem with this particular case.
Most Jamaicans, once you come from abroad and you speak nice and all and think that you could catch them. You'll catch them right away.
You catch people, David?
I'm not a catcher. I'm a delivery of a vehicle of God. And
you suck them in right away. As long as they know that you come from abroad, and you come down, you could suck them in right away.
Well, listen. Before I leave, let me leave on this positive note. I'm laughing. People are saying that this guy was going to raise in 3 days. Yes, and this is a picture which is going around in Jamaica. the second image is this now. This is the second image.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yes, I seen that one. And I was like, is that a real passport? Can he really take a passport with his hat on?
And David, the final one is, if you want to transport a criminal in Jamaica, this is how you do it.
Oh my goodness.
You understand that one? You understand
those memes, boy, I tell you.
Someone said to me from Jamaica, they said, while we are being traumatized by all the different events of the abduction, because those things really went to the core of Jamaica, and this whole thing with this guy and the killing, these bits humor them. the humorous side of Jamaica, because there's also another one which is going around whereby they said he came out of the coffin and started to dance, David, but I don't want to do that because that's blasphemous. But David, you didn't want me to show something. Was it sent me? Or?
Well, yeah, it was just how you cross a finishing line. Just in terms of celebrating the idea of getting back into doing things that you would do normally. You've been out of commission in terms of running for several months, and now you get back to going to running. You get back to doing the tasks you want to do. normally, you pull out a little bolt pose. Obviously, if you're going across the finishing line, but not me. No, no, I don't think that's the way forward. You need to do something more spectacular than that. So I thought I'd send you a video of how you cross the finishing line.
Let's share it. Let's share it with Michelle, so Michelle can actually see how you cross the finishing line. So you cross the finishing line, Michelle.
Rachel Bradley, Karen Careless, Diane Addison, Elizabeth Claw. Rachel.
David, that's you. You didn't tell me it was you. I thought it was the guys.
That's great, David.
That was me just going, right. So you're enjoying myself back on the run. So once you do one run, you want to go again.
Well, David, my skipping, if you don't see my skipping of recent days, I'm doing some dance move to my skipping now, and I'm trying to say, you saw that, Michelle?
Yeah.
Hey, yes. People sometimes say to me, people, I think, when was it? I didn't go out because I had an early morning meeting and some cases, and I realized I needed the time, and I didn't go out. And a couple of persons messaged me and said, we didn't see you this morning. I said, oh my days.
They're following you. They're looking to be inspired. As I said earlier at the top of the show, it's about being inspired.
Well, listen, guys, let's wrap up now. But listen, on Sunday, this is a very important one. I just want to show. On Sunday, on the 9 o'clock, Empowering the African Diaspora with Lumi. And that's going to be with Mr. Kenyama Brown, chairman of Jamaica Lumineers Secretariat. Right? And I don't know if you guys know anything about the Lumi. Anyone know anything about that?
No, go for it.
What, Illuminati?
No, not Illuminati. He's a Minister of Foreign Affairs, State of the African Diaspora, Deputy Executive Chairman of the Jamaica Lumineers Secretariat. And what I understand, Lumi, he's going to explain it a bit more. I won't do much justice to it. It's about using a currency within the African diaspora. So therefore, you use it to exchange. It's like barter. So they're creating, because I've been thinking about this for a long time as well. From my idea, my knee, since I came to the UK, they always talk about the Black community working together strategically, pulling together. And lots of different initiatives keep coming up. And somehow we keep getting slipped by. And then 10 years later, somebody has come back with something else. And you always ask this question, what is that glue or that thing which is needed to pull it together? Why is it not coming together, Michelle?
What is that? Is that you're talking about the Bitcoins or what?
No. I'm not talking about. I went beyond that discussion there. I'm talking about the Black community coming together. That's what.
Black people coming together.
Yeah. Because that's what that is about.
I think it's more of that we don't trust each other. That's how come we never come together. The trust is not there between within the Black community. It's just not there.
And also, I think I've had this discussion with many folk, but when you say Black community, what is the Black community?
That's a good point.
Who is it?
That's a good one too.
Who are we talking about, right?
I don't call myself Black. I'm either maroon or the Moors.
Right, and we all have a way of describing ourselves with our respective communities that we live in. And I'm not talking about Jamaicans versus Trinidad versus Barbados versus all of the islands I'm talking about you've got Africa as well. We all consider ourselves to be uniquely gifted in our respective facets of life. And so to group you all as Black, and Black is to me a little bit not demeaning, but just difficult, because
I'm glad
we
you
don't come
said
from
that.
the same. We don't come from the same. We don't have the same thoughts. We don't have the same. And that's the reason I think that it's quite difficult to unify a group of people who are already ununified. If I decided to say, you know what, now, I know this is probably difficult, maybe Michelle, for you to understand this, and forgive me if I've been rude there, but if I said the United Kingdom has to play now as a football team effectively in a World Cup, but we have England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, we have 4 different nations, there'll be an uproar. And to unify all of those 4 nations to say you are as one when it comes to football, and I'm not bringing this down to a football or a sport event, but I'm just saying that it doesn't sit quite right. And I think that's akin to how you can view the whole molding of a Black community. What does that mean? Do I share the same identity?
I would say whenever I put black down, I always put quotation marks. I always put it in quotation mark, black, because that is what most people who don't really know their history call us black. But if you know your history, you know that you're a maroon or you're a Moor. That's what you are. But
Well,
what I'm trying to say is, well, I will just point the skin tone. I'm just saying, us as our people, we don't trust each other.
yes.
And that's just it. That's
Well,
what
I
I'm
think
saying.
I think Sylbourne, you just opened up a whole of the show. So I don't know
yes,
if you want to
I
plan
just
for that show.
I just realized, and I'm trying to move on now. And,
Right.
But you know what somebody said to me is that when they went to Africa, they had to kiss the ground, And my dream sometime, I remember one time, my first time I went back to Jamaica, actually, did I do it? I think I literally may have bent down and kissed the ground because it was like something new. So if I go to Africa, I always talk about wanting to go to Africa and just to feel that vibes. I've been listening to a lot of South African music, and I just got on and kiss the ground. You know what I mean? I just kiss the ground because just to be there in that shows, because Maroon is Africa. You know what I mean? The Moors is Africa, right, Michelle? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And everything comes back from that thing. So, but hey, Sunday night, we'll have a discussion with the gentleman talking about the closing of Black History Month, October 31st, and the empowerment, the African diaspora with Lumi, empowering economic empowerment of the African diaspora with Lumi. Okay, guys, ladies and gentlemen, Michelle, thank you again for joining as usual.
Okay.
Just
Bye-bye,
you, Michelle.
guys.
from the States, guys, you can break dance, spin on your head.
No, I don't even do that.
David, I know you're the runner.
I can do the running man, but I'm not going to do that right now.
All right,
Next
guys.
time.
Thank you so much.
David
both
is
of you.
tired.
Bye-bye.
All right.
See you later.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Okay. Good. Right. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight. It was fantastic and was good. And remember, this Sunday evening, I'm encouraging you to join me with Kenyama Brown, chairman of the Jamaica Luminaires Secretariat, where we're going to have a discussion about empowering the African diaspora economically. I thought it was best to close off Black History Month with something of this nature, because I sometimes think that we talk a lot, but I think we need to create some different action now. And what I said before, this Sunday night at 9 p.m. Okay? Boom. So without further ado, let me just wrap up now and have a good night. Remember to like and subscribe to the Sylbourne Show. Those on Instagram as well. Thank you, Shay. Thank you, Jabish. And Jabish, let me see where you're saying now. UK got a lot of strains, and other places have not even got some strains from the UK. No lie, my people them say. And Garry, I know that you wanted to come on, but duties took you otherwise. So all the best, good night, and see you next week. Remember, Friday night, nothing. Was Saturday night, talk and sip. Yes, Saturday night, talk and sip, 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. And also on my YouTube channel, you'll see there's a lot of clips of motivational thoughts, which I've actually started to load on it, so you can actually tap into it. And also on my my Spotify and Anchor, there's also some lovely inspirational music, inspirational thoughts as well. And look out very soon for some other activities coming on soon. Okay, peace out. God bless you. Bye-bye.